With the 2021-2022 NBA season coming up very soon, I decided now was as good of a time as any to start discussing every single team before the season starts. I decided it made the most sense to go in the order of the worst to the best teams in my own prediction for this upcoming season. Right now, I'm finally at the top 10 teams, and at the number 10 spot I have the Denver Nuggets, meaning I think this upcoming season the Denver Nuggets will be the 10th best team in the NBA. So basically in today's video, I'll just be discussing the Denver Nuggets, discussing how good I think their players will do, things like that. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help me reach my goal of 2,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. And play that intro. But quickly before we get into the video, I gotta show you this really quickly. This is the new Diversion water bottle. It's basically a water bottle where you can put stuff like your keys, wallet, and other kind of small items like in your water bottle that will make you lose it way less. And it will also just help you to not have your pockets full and things like that. Click the link in my bio if you're interested, and into the video. When it comes to the offensive side of the floor, I think we all know that Denver's going to be one of the best teams in the NBA. To be honest, if they had a healthy Jamal Murray fully this season, I'd actually predict them to be a top 3 offense in the league. But it seems like Jamal Murray is probably going to be out until the close to the playoff times, or he might not even return at all. We'll have to see. But nonetheless, they definitely will miss Jamal Murray's presence as a really elite scorer in today's NBA. But even though Murray is going to miss most of the season, I still think this is a roster that will be top 10 on the offensive side of the floor. They just have a bunch of guys who can space the floor out at a good level, and guys who have a lot of IQ, who know what to do, who make good decisions, guys who can handle the ball. But let me not kid myself. The biggest reason the Denver Nuggets are going to be so good on offense is due to the fact they have Nikola Jokic on their team, who is a guy who might be a top 5 offensive center in NBA history. And he's definitely a top 5 offensive player in the NBA right now. Because although he might not score as much points as other players, his passing just affects the game so much at an elite level to where he makes it literally better for everyone on his team. His passing led to Michael Porter Jr. shooting 45% from 3 last season, and plenty of other players just definitely play better with him. Jokic also was literally the MVP last season, which I feel like a lot of people forgot about. It definitely wasn't the strongest MVP in the world, but I think it was definitely an above average strong MVP. It just didn't have a lot of hype for it. To be honest, I think that might have been the best all around season for a center when it comes to the stats. Not saying it's the best center season all time, because that's probably Shaquille O'Neal or something. Next, we have to talk about Michael Porter Jr., who is a guy who I definitely think will be in the conversation for the Most Improved Player award. Last season, when Jamal Murray was out of the lineup, Porter Jr. averaged 23 points per game on an absolutely crazy efficiency, shooting over 50% from the field and 40% from 3. I think he'll continue to average the same amount of points, maybe even averaging closer to 25 points per game. He's going to get a big role boost this upcoming year. Porter Jr. is really important to this team because if he doesn't play at an all-star level, which he's definitely capable to do, it's going to put a lot of pressure on Jokic. He can't just be a catch and shoot guy. He has to be a guy who's creating his own shot, giving you a consistent 25 points. I also want to talk about Aaron Gordon, who the Nuggets re-signed this offseason. They also traded for him last year in the trade deadline. To be honest, when he got re-signed, a lot of people were complaining about how dumb of a move it was and how they overpaid. And to be honest, I actually think people were overhating on his contract, because if you actually watch the Nuggets when they were fully healthy with Aaron Gordon just made them so much better because he covered a lot of their defensive weaknesses, and on offense he was the perfect replacement for Jeremy Grant as a floor spacer and a transition scorer, guy who could finish at the rim, catch lobs and things like that. I think re-signing him was an absolute must, and it was a huge W that they did that. I don't necessarily think he's going to take a huge step to improve or anything, turn to an all-star like we thought he could before. I'd also like to talk about Bol Bol, who seems like a guy who could be a solid backup center in the NBA. He just does not get any type of play time on this team. I think he'd be perfect on this team as a backup big man to Jokic, who could get buckets off the bench for them and hopefully be a good rim protector, things like that. Mike Malone, for some reason, doesn't seem to be playing him. If why, let me know. I really hope he can get playing time this year and some consistent playing time, because if he doesn't, I honestly think the Nuggets should look to move him, because he's a guy, in my opinion, who has all-star potential, and if they're simply just going to keep him on the bench and waste his talent, there's no reason for him to be on the team. I'm not saying he's superstar Damian Lillard or anything like that, but he's definitely a young guy who I think should be playing at least 15 to 20 minutes consistently. And I can name like 20 other teams in the NBA that would definitely be utilizing them better than the Nuggets have been. Free ball. Next, I quickly want to talk about some of their other role players. I want to talk about guys like Monte Morris. He's actually one of the best backup point guards in the NBA. Very underrated. He rarely ever makes the wrong play. I believe like a couple years ago, or maybe he still has it, but he had like the best pass to turnover ratio in the whole league. They have Jeff Green. We all know Jeff Green is just a solid guy. Some nights he's inconsistent, doesn't really do much, doesn't really stand out. They can drop like 20 points and help you win a playoff game like he did in Brooklyn. He's a guy who plays solid defense, space the floor, solid player. Michael Green, it's Michael Green, guy who can space the floor, finish out the rim, things like that. They have Will Barton, who underratedly is actually going to have to score a little bit more for them. He's probably going to be like their fourth option, maybe even third, depending on how you feel about Aaron Gordon. I'm expecting a good season out of him. I also have PJ Dozier, who's going to get a way bigger role this upcoming year. Hopefully he can like get consistent minutes, because I actually think he could be a really good player, maybe even an starting level player in the NBA. Overall, I just think this Denver Nuggets team will be good on the offensive side of the floor. Not just good, elite. Like, I think they could definitely maybe even be top 5, depending on how good Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic do. They have lots of offensive talent. That's all I gotta say. When it comes to the defensive side of the floor, I think it's safe to say the Nuggets won't be as good on defense as they will be on offense, but I still think overall they'll be an above average and maybe even a good defensive team. Probably not top 5, maybe not even top 10, but I think I could see them ranking somewhere around the 8 to 15 range. This isn't a team necessarily filled with a bunch of amazing defenders, but last season they were pretty good on defense and they didn't really lose any of their main defenders, so I have no reason to think that they will get any worse. Maybe you could argue they're not going to be great on defense if you're one of the people who think Jokic is a defensive liability, which he's not. I'm not saying he's Joel Embiid or anything like that, but I'd say he's an average to even maybe above average defender, because he actually gets a lot of steals and deflections. Michael Porter Jr. also is not a great defender. You could argue he's a liability, but he is 6'10" and athletic, so hopefully you would think he could like improve to maybe even be a good one day. They also have good defenders like JaMychal Green, Aaron Gordon especially, and Jeff Green is pretty solid as well. Overall, I think this is one of those defensive teams who is not good on defense because of their coaching or anything like that. They're good on defense. They're good on defense because of their coaching, not because of their talent. They don't have like the most amazing defensive talent in the world. They just have a bunch of solid defenders. But the reason the Nuggets will be a good defense is because of Mike Malone. He definitely deserves a lot of respect for that. And when you're a team that can be as good on offense that I think Denver could be, then you factor. To answer the question of why I rank the Denver Nuggets at the number 10 spot on my list, it's honestly because I feel like the Nuggets are just barely outside of that like level of team that could legitimately win the NBA championship. Without Jamal Murray, I don't think they're on the level of teams like the Bucks, Suns, Nets, Lakers, teams like that. If Jamal Murray was healthy, I guarantee you I would actually put Denver in my like top 7 teams, maybe even top 5. Probably top 5 if I'm being honest. I feel like healthy Denver Nuggets squad is better than like the Jazz, the Suns, maybe not the Bucks or Nets, Lakers, but I definitely think they would probably be a top 5 team. I hope Jamal Murray comes back healthy, because Denver can honestly be like a dynasty, maybe even win a few championships if they're healthy. But nonetheless, I feel like Aaron Gordon is really important to this team. He has to be consistent. So does Will Barton. But you have Nikola Jokic on your team. I definitely think they're a lock to make the playoffs for sure. I can see them finishing as high as the number 3 seed and finishing as low as the 7 seed. But if Jokic and Porter Jr. play crazy, they could even maybe do better. Nonetheless, I'm very high on the Denver Nuggets. Definitely think they're up for a pretty solid season, but I don't know if they're going to win the championship. Or I won't even really think about it, because I don't think they have enough talent to do that. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Denver Nuggets are a real title contenders. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, also drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.